Hello and welcome to another episode of eBay's Scavengers. I'm here with my partner Wendy, who is making me laugh.
Hi, Mikey.
And we are doing a couples podcast for the next two episodes. So Jay and Ryan did the last two episodes talking about their week and their eBay lifestyle. And Wendy and I are going to do the next two episodes talking about our week, or really 2 weeks, of eBay sales in our store and our eBay lifestyle.
Yes. And the only reason we can do this at all, sit here together in the kitchen and be doing our job while we make this recording, is because we left New York City, where we used to not spend any time together because you would get home from work and I would leave for work and we would just never really see each other.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing being in a relationship and having just like 2 hours each evening, maybe. And sometimes I'd already be sleeping when you'd come home. So yeah.
That's what a lot of people have.
Yeah. And we moved in the middle of nowhere. Now we have lots of time together.
Yes. Time to bicker.
Time to argue.
How was our week?
Well, I think the big thing that happened to us in the last 2 weeks is that we bought a car. And you might be like, well, how does that relate to an eBay podcast? But the thing is, we had another car. We bought like a car off Craigslist. And we had another car, an old Beetle, that we had bought some accessories for. So the first thing you did, Wendy, was start hawking stuff.
Yeah, well, let's not miss the fact that when we were looking for a new car, we looked at Craigslist, but we also looked at eBay. Mm-hmm. And we were totally ready and willing to buy a car on eBay, too, if that's the way it went. But it happened to be that we lucked out on Craigslist.
Yeah, eBay seemed a little more expensive for the cars.
And we did buy a car on eBay once. It was a fairly tragic experience.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
You know, if you don't mind this side story, I think the way that I remember this event was my greaser friend came through town with his bus burning waste vegetable oil, and you got very excited. Yeah. And when he left at 3 a.m, you came into the house looking a little bit guilty and said, guess what I just bought on eBay?
I bought a vintage Mercedes that was not in good shape.
So we drove down to El Paso, Texas to pick up this car, and I was grinding my teeth the whole way because I wasn't sure I was ready for this vehicle. And who do we meet?
Oh, it was like was he Russian? I think he was Middle Eastern, this car salesman, but man, he was a real Russian dealer. I don't know, the personality was strong. He
reminded me, now my parents, we're both, well, you're Russian by genealogy, and I was raised by Russians. And so our history and going back to New York is like, he took me right back to that haggle, the deal.
Oh, it was getting brutal.
Oh my God. So him and I haggled over this Mercedes, which when we left, he said, if you don't make it home, don't call me.
Yeah, we did make it home, but we didn't make it much further.
So anyway, this car we bought on Craigslist, and yeah, you're right. We got home. We got a great car. And we got home, and I looked at our Beetle, and I was like, all right, let's get this thing out of here. I made some signs. I put it on Craigslist. But what Mikey's pointing out is I immediately took the roof rack, broke it into parts, the basket, the rack, the Yakima, blah, 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 and sold it on eBay. Put it right up, got it out. 2 days later, I'm shipping that rack. Now, we could have thrown it in with the car, but it really had much more value on its own. It would have just been something we actually threw in. And as it is, we're not going to get that much for the car. So.
And oddly enough, the car we bought a new, we bought an 8-year-old Passat, Volkswagen Passat. The guy threw in a rack with the car.
Mm-hmm. So. You know, what was funny about that rack was someone scribbled on the box, even though it had never been out of the box, brand new Volkswagen rack, someone scribbled $30. You could tell it had once been in a garage sale.
Yeah, that looked like he scored at a garage sale.
So, what else?
Well, that was our big news for the week. And then I think what happened yesterday was kind of crazy, and we're going to pay the repercussions of this for a while now, but we had all these plans to work in the garden, and I went out and started planting leeks and transplanting kale seedlings and all this stuff from our indoor to our outdoor beds. And you went to the shed to go get a screw, was it?
You know, I don't even remember, but I went to the shed to get something, and I got so inflamed by the chaos that is our shed. Now, you have to realize our shed is a 20-foot shipping container, so it's no tiny thing from, like, Home Depot. This is a big-ass shed. And it's filled with 7 years of crap, and I opened that door, and I couldn't even step in to find anything because it was so awful. And then what? I found you.
Yeah. Well, now, about 7 hours of hard, sweaty work later, we have emptied the shed. Wendy was in complete authority mode and cleaned out, organized. I just moved stuff around, mostly got in the way. And now we have a usable shed with a big pile of stuff for eBay.
Right. So, any good organizer knows that when you clean anything, you make piles. So the piles are probably categories. We had a shed, so there was an automotive pile, there was a lawn and gardening pile, there was all these piles. And then there were two interesting piles. One is, I think I'm going to use this soon, and the other is, I'm selling it on eBay. So we already reconciled the think I'm going to use it soon pile and what turned out to not be true. When I tried to use it and I couldn't, I just took it out to the trash. And then the eBay pile, Mikey's been photographing stuff all day.
I already got 2 items up, and I'll probably get maybe 10 more up today. And we have a lot of big items, which we don't really like to sell, so like big power tool kind of things. So I'm going to really get those up and sell them below their full selling potential just to get them out of here.
Yeah.
So it's just too much for us to store.
So I think, an interesting point in our experience with the shed, even though it may have started with a little bit of intensity, is that everybody's home, everyone's sort of sitting on a bankroll of stuff that's unused by them, useful to someone else potentially, and worth some money.
Yeah, and this is really a good time for us to do this because we just spent a bunch of money on a used car, so we could use the cash back. So.
Right.
All right, so another thing that happened this week, and this is the same problem we've been dealing with for months now, is 45 RPM records. We have such a bizarre relationship with these records, and I brought it up before on multiple podcasts. And this time we sold a record, and we decided to ship it the way the websites ship it. So
right. Well, we basically Googled for how do you ship a 45 record.
Because they are brittle.
And, it's a pain. And what we learned is you have to float it in a box and then also wrap the record in cardboard. So you wrap the record, then you float it. So 2 issues with this that I have is it's not easy to have that right size box. It's an unusual size box. It's thin, but not so thin that you can't float something. And then the other thing is it's a lot of packing. So time and energy. So basically, if I understood you correctly, we decided we'll keep selling these records, but it's going to be that the customer has to either pay a lot in shipping and handling, or we'll make a minimum, like you have to buy 3.
Yeah, we still haven't really decided on that yet, but we decided we really want to make $30 a record or something in that range.
Or $30 per ship.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be a big deal to ship multiple.
No, that's why I was saying 3. Yeah. So we're going to work that out. We're going to stick it out with records. I just bought another box of them, and we're going to see this through a little bit further before we decide if we're going to get out of the record business.
Yeah, and another thing that happened this week, which is kind of a first for us, is we went to a yard sale. It's our good buddy Randy. Randy has great yard sales, and we were out.
You should tell him where he gets the stuff.
Oh, he buys storage lockers. So he's like the Storage Wars guy. He's out there, and he goes to a storage locker place, usually out of town. They open the door, everyone can look in, and if you want to bid on the entire locker, you have to do it based on just what you saw from the outside. No one gets to look around. You don't really know much of the inventory besides what you can see from the outside. So he buys these all the time. Looks like a ton of work, and he's driving all this crap up from nearby cities.
And it's usually kind of mediocre stuff.
Yeah, usually it's not a big score. And he sells them at yard sales. Everything's selling between $1 and $2. And usually, yeah. And
anyway, so we see this big popular slide viewer. We know one of those like monster slide projectors from the 60s. It weighs like 20 pounds, and a bunch of slides. And actually, I just wanted to see the slides.
Yeah.
So we're like, how much? And we haggled him down from, I think he wanted 8 for the slide viewer and like $2 per pack of slides. We wound up taking it all for $6. I didn't care really to keep the slide viewer. I just wanted to see someone else's slides. I was so curious. Anyway, we get home. It doesn't work. It just kind of falls apart.
Well, the bulb worked.
Yeah. Anyway, it's in the dumpster right now. As we speak, it's in the dumpster.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see the slides. And funny enough, just last week, we sold a slide viewer.
Yeah, like a little one.
A little baby, which would have been perfect for looking at these slides. So P.S., a slide viewer is in our future. This is what we do. We're going to find another one in like 5 minutes, and we'll look at the slides one day.
Right. And I've heard from Jay and Ryan before that they love to buy 35 millimeter slides from the 60s and 70s, family vacations in Disneyland and stuff, because they have value. They sell them on eBay.
I'm psyched to see the reality of this. I really am.
But now we need to create a setup where we can take pictures of those slides so we can show the customers.
And I'm
Which we
happy
did
to
have.
create that setup if it's really worth it. I think, Jay and Ryan taught us in the beginning, and it continues to be true. You have to have interest in the stuff you're moving. And I think the slides are going to land in that category of it's always going to be a little exciting to get home and look at the slides and be like, what is this? There's going to be funny stuff. There's going to be imagined stories, people's lives. So I think this is going to be a good one. It also fits our criteria for keeping our eBay inventory based on very small objects, easy to ship.
Yeah, I'm interested in going a little further with the slides because we had a great setup at one point where you could use a camera and mount it and take photos. So I bet we could find like an iPhone to slide.
I know that you will find the solution because that's who you are, Mikey.
All right. So finally, to wrap up this episode, just like Jay and Ryan said last week, our sales have been slow.
This week could be defined as slow. And I was just over at my girlfriend's house, and she has an Etsy store. She's a weaver and makes beautiful clothing, custom clothing. And she was just saying this was the slowest week she can remember. So it's not just on eBay. I think when you're getting to middle of April, the spring has sprung no matter where you live, and everybody's really excited to get out of the house. And I think people just don't want to be sitting home shopping online.
Yeah, I think you might have something because we aren't selling. So anyway, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode. So that's our Wendy and Mikey's week of eBay update, and we are going to go to our next episode, which is going to be about eBay as a lifestyle.